Here are some extra fractions problems I put on the board for some of my students who had finished their work a bit earlier than the others. So let's go through the answers to these. You notice I've done multiplication before I did addition. I personally think multiplication is much easier because you don't have to worry about getting a common denominator. But anyway, let's just go through and see how we go. 3/7 times 4/9. Well, as I said, we don't have to worry about getting a common denominator. We're simply going to multiply across the top, so that gives us 3 4s, and then we multiply across the bottom 7 by 9. Well, 3 4s are 12, 7 9s are 63. That's an answer. Well, that 3 is a bit shifty. Let's draw that one again. So 12 over 63, that is an answer. Is it correct? Yes, it is, but it's not the final answer because we always want to simplify our fractions where we can. Now, maybe it's jumped out at you that both of these numbers, the 12 and the 63, are divisible by 3 because 3 4s are 12 and 63 may not have jumped out at you, but 30 is obviously divisible by 3, 10 times. Therefore, 60 is, and this is only one more 3 more than 60. So 30 was 10, so 60 is 20, so 63 is 21. So 12 over 63 is our original answer, but a better answer is 4 over 21 because this is simplified. Let's go to number 2. We're going to do this in exactly the same way. We multiply across the top, so 7 3s, and we multiply across the bottom, 10 by 13. Well, 3 7s are 21, and 10 by anything, we're just going to put a 0 on the end, so 130. Now, can we simplify this? Well, think of some factors of 21. Let's see, we've got 3. No, 3 doesn't go into 130. 7, no, that doesn't either. No, it seems that this is our final answer. We can't simplify it any further. So, we move on to number 3. Now, here we have a mixed numeral. We're happy to leave our final answers as a mixed numeral. We shouldn't leave it as an improper fraction, but we don't want to work with a mixed numeral. So the first thing we'll do is convert that 2 3/4 to an improper fraction. So what we do is we go 2 times the 4. Well, that's going to give us 8. But remember, we already had 3, so that 8 that we've just got, we have to add the 3 that we already had. So we have 11. Our fraction now becomes 11 over 4. And this is what we're multiplying. So 2 3/4 is the same as 11 over 4. And we're multiplying this by 1 over 4. Now, as we know, we're going to simply multiply across the top. Well, 1 by 11 is going to still be 11. And 4 by 4 is 16. So we have 11 over 16. Can this be simplified anymore? No, it can't. So that is our final answer, 11/16. Moving on to number 4, we now have some addition. Now, like multiplication, we're not going to leave the mixed numerals as they are. We're going to convert to improper fractions, and then we'll add those. So 3 7s are 21, plus the one we started with gives us 22. And that is over 7. And we're going to be adding this to 1 3/5. Well, 1 times 5 is 5, plus the 3 we already started with is going to be 8 over 5, 8/5. So we've converted our mixed numerals to improper fractions, and now we can add them. But we can't add them yet, because remember, we can only add or subtract or compare fractions if we have a common denominator. We don't have one in this case. So we either have to change one fraction or both fractions to get that common denominator. In this case, we're going to have to change them both because 5 doesn't fit into 7. So the easiest way to find a common denominator is to multiply them. 7 5s are 35, so 35 is going to be a common denominator. Now, sometimes there might be a smaller one, but in this case, we're going to go with that 35. So both fractions will be written as something over 35, and these are the fractions that we're going to add. Once we have a common denominator, we can actually do the maths and add them. Well, how do we get to 35? That 5, how do we get there? We multiplied by 7. So that 8, we also have to multiply by 7. 7 eighths are 56, so that is our numerator. And the 7, how did we get to 35? We multiplied by 5. So we have to do the same thing to the numerator as well. Remember, whatever you do to the denominator, if you do the same thing to the numerator, that's an equivalent fraction. It has the same value. That's what we're finding, actually. We're writing equivalent fractions for 8 over 5 and for 22 over 7. So the 7 was multiplied by 5. The 22 also gets multiplied by 5. That will be 110. So now we have two equivalent fractions. The math is essentially the same. 7 over 22 plus 8 over 5 is exactly the same as 110 over 35 plus 56 over 35. All right, we've written equivalent fractions, so the maths hasn't actually changed. But we do have a common denominator, so we can do the maths now, no problem. The denominator stays the same, so it's going to be something over 35. Now let's find out what the something is. 110 plus 156, well, that will be 166. Now, that's the answer, but it's not our final answer. We have to do two things. We have to simplify where we can, and because we have an improper fraction, we would want to convert to a mixed numeral. Now, whether you convert to a mixed numeral first and then simplify, or simplify first and then convert to a mixed numeral, that is entirely up to you. To get the numbers smaller, I'm actually going to convert first. So how many 35s fit into 166? Well, two 35s are 70, so 4 of them will be 140, and that leaves us 26 left over, so there won't be another one. So it's going to fit in 4 times. So as a mixed numeral, our whole number will be 4. And I said that's 140, so there are 26 left over. So we have 26 left over. Our denominator is still 35. So converting that improper fraction to a mixed numeral, I now have 4 and 26 35ths. 4 and 26 over 35. And then I could ask myself, right, can I simplify this even further? Can I simplify that fraction? Well, looking at it, I'm going to go with no. I can't. Really, all I could do with the 26 is divide by 2 or divide by 13, and 2 and 13 don't fit into 35, so we can't divide 35 by 2 or by 13 to get another whole number. We can do it, but we'll come out with a decimal answer. So that is our final answer there, 4 and 26 over 35. Number 5. Now we can probably go a bit quicker now that we've sort of been talking about what we're going to be doing. So we're going to be needing a common denominator. 4 over 7, well, 7 goes into 14 from the other fraction, so let's just write that straight away as 8 over 14, because I'm going to write it with my common denominator. Now 2 14s are 28, plus the 3 we started with is 31. So what you can see, I'm converting as I go. I've changed that mixed numeral into an improper fraction, and I've changed my 4 over 7. I've already got a common denominator now, so it's 8 over 14, so I can go straight into the addition. My answer is going to be over 14, because that's the common denominator. 31 plus 8 is going to give me 39. Now, can I simplify this any further? No, I can't, because I'm just thinking of factors of 14. I've got 2 and 7. Well, 39 is an odd number, so I'm not going to divide it by 2, and 7 doesn't go into 39. So that is actually my final answer. No need to simplify any further. Oh, wait, stop. Oh, I tell a fib. I can't simplify it, but I can, of course, convert to a mixed numeral. When we have an improper fraction, which I do, we don't leave it as that. So we say, okay, how many times can 14 fit into 39? Well, 2 14s are 28, and that's only 11 less than 39, so I can't fit that third one in, but I can fit 2 of them, and that's 28, and that will leave me with 11 left over. So there we go. I was a bit quick to jump to say, hey, I can't simplify that any further. No, I can't, but I can convert to a mixed numeral, which we do need to do. All right, moving on. Number 6. We have subtraction now. Essentially the same deal with addition. Any mixed numerals we convert to improper fractions. And we also need a common denominator. So, okay, 2 8s are 16 plus the 3 we had. That will give me 19 over 8. Now, just looking at the other one, it's going to be over 16. So why don't we just get this a common denominator right now? That 8, we could multiply it by 2. So, okay, let's do that. We'll multiply it by 2 to get over 16 so that we're going to have our common denominator. But because we multiplied that 8 by 2, the 19 we also have to multiply by 2. So we're going to have 38 over 16. Great. Now let's subtract from that. 1 times 16 is 16, funnily enough. And if we add 7 onto that, we're going to have 23. So we have now, we've rewritten the problem with improper fractions, and they have a common denominator, so we can do the maths now. 38 minus 23, that's going to give us 15. Our denominator is 16. We now have a proper fraction, so we don't have to try and convert somehow to a mixed numeral. In fact, we can't, because the numerator is smaller than the denominator, and we can't simplify that any further either. So there's our answer, 15/16. Right, number 7 brings us some division. Now, I probably should have written these up on the board before the addition and subtraction, because these are easier in my mind anyway, because we're just going to go 4 over 7. We're not going to write the divided, we're going to write times, because remember, to do division, we actually don't divide, we multiply, but we invert that second fraction. So we have 11 over 7. So there we go, that's how we do division of fractions. We just flip the second fraction upside down, we invert it, so the 7 over 11 becomes 11 over 7, and then instead of trying to do division, we just multiply. And we know how to do multiplication of fractions nice and quick, because we simply multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom, and we're grand. Well, 4 11s is 44. 7 7s are 49. So we have 44 49ths, or 44 over 49. We ask ourselves, can we simplify this any further? And just thinking of some factors of 49, obviously 7 is a factor, and 1 and 49, and yeah, no, I don't really see any other factor of 49 that we can also divide 44 by. So there we go, that's our final answer, 44 over 49. Number 8, some more division, but of course we're going to convert that mixed numeral into an improper fraction. 2 5s are 10 plus the 3 we started with is 13 over 5. Now this is divided by 4 over 7. That's the same as times 7 over 4. Right? Remember, we invert the second fraction, we flip it upside down, and we do multiplication instead. So 4 5s are 20. And 3 7s 21. Add that to 10 7s, which is 70. 70 and 21 is 91. We have 91 20ths. Now we can convert this fraction into a mixed numeral. 20 will fit into 80 4 times, so 4 will be our whole number part here, and that will leave 11 left over. So we have 4 and 11 20ths, which can't be simplified any further. That is our final answer. Right, moving on to number 9. We know what to do here. We convert to improper fractions, and then we multiply after we've inverted the second fraction. So let's do that. 2 8s is 16, plus 7 more will give us 23 over 8. We're going to end up multiplying. 3 4s are 12, plus the 2 that we had is 14, so we have 14 over 3. Let's make it now 3 over 14, because we invert that second fraction, and then we do our multiplication. Well, 3 23s are going to be 69, divided by 8 14s. Well, the 10 times 8 will give us 80. The 4 8s are 32, so we've got 80, and 32 more is 112. Now, can we simplify this any further? Nothing's really jumping out at me. I mean, 3, because 3 fits into 12 and 3 fits into 69. 3 might be jumping out at you, but it actually doesn't fit into 112 because, of course, it fits into 90, and 112 is 22 more, and 3 doesn't fit into 22. So I'm going to call it and say, hey, off the top of my head, I don't see a way to simplify that any further. So we leave it as is. And we move on to number 10. Now we seem to have jumped back to some more subtraction. That's okay. Let's see. 6 4s are 24 plus that one we have. That'll be 25 over 4. We're going to subtract from that. 2 2s are 4 plus the one we have is 5 over 2. But we need a common denominator, so let's just change that. 5 over 2 is the same as 10 over 4. Now we have a common denominator, we can do the maths. 25 minus 10 is going to be 15. We have it over 4. 4 4s is 16, so 4 won't fit into 15 4 times. It will certainly fit in 3 times though, because 3 4s are 12, which leaves us 3 left over, denominator 4. There we go. 6 1/4 minus 2 1/2 is equal to 3 3/4. Which means we just have 2 left. So let's hit those now. Oh, here we go. We have minus a negative. Well, that's the same as adding a positive, isn't it? So let's just see. 24 over 25. And we're going to subtract from that negative. What have we got? 3 5s are 15 plus the 2 that we had is 17 over 5 grand. But we can't do that. We need a common denominator. That 5, we're going to have to multiply it by 5. And whatever we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top as well. So 5 5s will give us that common denominator. There we go. And 17 5s, well, 7 5s are 35, and add that to 50 from the 10 5s, that's going to be 85. Cool, so we have now a subtraction problem. We've got a common denominator, so we can actually do it, but we have minus a negative, and remember, minus a negative is the same as a plus. Right, same as just addition. When you subtract a negative, what you're actually doing is addition. So we have 24 plus 85. Well, that will give us, let's see, what will that give us? The 4 and the 5 will give us a 9, the 20 and the 80 will give us 100. So we have 109 over 25. Of course, we're going to simplify this. 25 fits into 100 4 times, so that will be 4. And that will leave us 9 left over, so we have 9 25ths left over. So there we go, 24 25ths minus negative 3 2/5 is equal to 4 9 25ths. And to wrap things up, we have a mix now of multiplication and negative number and addition. Now, this one may look a bit trickier, and sure, to me, it looks trickier, but it isn't actually. We just break it down into steps. As I always tell my students, the tricky ones, you just need to break them down, do them bit by bit by bit, and when you run out of bits, well, that's your answer. So, let's break this down. BODMAS says we're going to do this part of the problem before we then worry about adding this on. Remember, BODMAS always applies. It's not just a topic we covered at some stage and then we've moved on. You always do BODMAS. So multiplication is before the addition. So do you know what? I'm just going to focus on the multiplication part. I'm just going to do that first. 3 over 7 times 2 4s are 8 plus the 1 we had to start with. That's going to give us 9, so it's multiplied by 9 over 4, but remember that is a negative, grand. That's not going to cause us any problems at all, that negative. We're just going to go, hey, 3 9s, well, that's 27. Only it was negative, so it's negative 27, and 4 7s are 28. So the multiplication part is done. That's minus 27 over 28. Now we need to add the 3 1/3. So let's write that now. We have minus 27 over 28, and we are adding 3 and a third. Well, let's not write it as 3 and a third, let's write it as the improper fraction. So 3 3s are 9, plus the one we started with is going to be 10, so we have 10 over 3. So let's just replace that with 10 over 3. Grand! We now have a simple addition of fractions, but we know what we need to do first, and that's get a common denominator. 3 doesn't fit into 28 very nicely, so let's just multiply those denominators together and come out with, let's see, what do we come out with? 3 8's 24, plus the 60 is going to be 84. So 84 will be our common denominator. So let's do this part now. How did we go from 28 to 84? Well, we multiplied it by 3, didn't we? Okay, so if we multiplied the bottom part by 3, we have to multiply the top part by 3 as well. 3 7's 21, plus the 60 that we get from the 320s, that's going to be 81, but of course it is a negative, and we are adding to that also over 84. We went 3 times 28, so we have to do 10 times 28, so we have 280. There we go. We have minus 81 84ths plus 280 84ths. Now, what you could do is start in the negatives, start at minus 81, and then add 280. That's grand. You can do that. However, I personally think, and this is just me, this is how my brain works, maybe not yours, I think it's actually easier to subtract the 81 from the 280. Now, we can do this because for addition and subtraction, remember the sign belongs with the number after it. So that minus sign belongs to the 81 and 84ths. And we can shift it to the back. The order isn't important. 7 minus 4 is the same as minus 4 plus 7. Okay, so I've just taken my minus 81 84ths, I've put it to the other side because I think 280 minus 81 is easier than negative 81 plus 280. All right, but as I said, that's just the way my brain works. So if let's take away 80, that puts us at 200. Take away one more, that puts us at 199. So we have equals 199 over 84. Great, that's our answer. But of course, that's an improper fraction. We convert to a mixed numeral. 2 times 84 will be 168. So we're going to fit 2 of them in there, right? 168, and that will leave us 31 left over. So we have 31 over 84. Now, looking at this, nothing is jumping out at me as a way to simplify that fraction. So that's what I'm going to leave my final answer as. 3 over 7 times negative 2 1/4 plus 3 1/3 is equal to 2 and 31 over 84. So there we go. That was a few more fractions exercises. Well, that's the video done. If you liked it, brilliant. Hit the like button and leave me a comment too. Now you know what to do. Go hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time.